Travis Wayne Goodsell on Rachel Maddow's shows tonight. Rachel Maddow's show tonight. She showed the video of the one little Nazi girl who stole Pelosi's laptop and intended to sell it to Russia. Rachel then went on to expose the meanings of all the signs and symbols in that disturbing video. And as I am hearing it, yeah, it's all in the Book of Mormon. I've been telling you guys all about it. But it's using different words. I have heard some Mormons question the number of dead among the final battle, or one of the battles where it gives the number of the dead, and when you total it up, it's like a ton. And it requires a certain amount of time in order to build up to that many people. You got to give women a breather in having babies and raising those kids and such forth. But as Mormons would understand it, the Book of Mormon would be prophetic in being a pattern or parallel to the latter days. Mormons would never see it as humanistic and real, in the sense that the Smiths had received insider information from, say, a Captain William Morgan from the War of 1812, and thus they themselves used encoded messaging with signs and symbols to likewise warn of the coming threat to America. And the thing that destroys Mormons' viewpoint, that it's a parallel comparison, is that the Book of Mormon uses the astronomical signs in the heavens from Revelation, and specifically the beginning date and the end date of the latter day period. Anybody want to guess as to which 7 years are the beginning and ending dates? I'll give you a hint: 2017 and 2024. And so, yeah, the Book of Mormon can't be true because of the signs in the heaven from Revelation that give us a latter day date. But what Rachel was talking about as she was going over it is that these white supremacists are believing in an acceleration so that they can collapse using genocidal war. And in the end, they would rise as a white supremacist authoritarianism, which is in the Book of Mormon. And I've gone over with you how coronavirus is being used as that genocidal weapon, so that they don't get into a fight, because that could potentially ruin the whole plans if the the good guys overcome the bad guys. So you got to have something that destroys the bad guys, and the virus is just that, as Joseph Smith likewise points out. They didn't put it in the Book of Mormon. They instead refer to Isaiah, which does refer to something of that nature. And they do frequently refer to the Exodus of Moses. And in the Doctrine and Covenants, this is where Joseph Smith gets more specific, as he again says there's going to be a Mormon who will restore the Church of it's Church of Christ. It was never intended to be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints only got their name when Joseph Smith III, the second power, the first Joseph Smith III died at the same time as the 116 pages. Martin Harris took advantage of Joseph's weakness to destroy the 116 pages. But the one after death, when he was finally old enough to start his own organization, he only knew of the Brighamite branch and their claims as to what Joseph was doing or secretly doing, as Emma knew nothing either about any of the claims of the Brighamite Church. She just knew she didn't like Brigham, as Joseph, on several occasions that I found, called Brigham Young Judas. And in the Book of Mormon, we have Helaman chapter 6, which goes over how they communicate with these coded messages, the signs and the words, specifically coded to those in the organization. And so that video of that little neo-Nazi girl, you know, it's a real shame when you have a beautiful girl who's just completely brain fried, literally, with so much hate within her. That's why the Book of Mormon, by the way, turned Laman and Lemuel's descendants black. They're white supremacists. And they specifically wrote it that way. Not Joseph Jr., but Sr., as he had to rewrite the 116 pages. Thanks to Junior. And so when other people read it, not understanding that it's code, they get offended. Oh, this is a white supremacist book. This is horrifying. This is evil. No, do you not understand? The white supremacists are the bad guys in the story. Do you see how they did that? It's not blacks, it's white supremacy, using coded speech. Because who do white supremacists hate and don't consider human? Yeah. And so to call a white supremacist black is like the ultimate insult. But anyway, yeah, it has all those codes and signs and words that are exclusive to the group. And as I mentioned, Rachel was able to expose the video symbols, and so they're brazen enough to not care if anybody else knows, because they all think they've got the upper hand, and it's just a matter of time now. 3 years? Yeah, just a matter of time. And right before 2024 in the Book of Mormon, again, the sign of 2024 from Revelation 19. What, did you honestly think that Jesus is going to come from outer space flying on a horse? John says it's a sign. And so there you have Jesus coming from outer space to the land bountiful, symbol of Zion, the New Jerusalem, and hands over the keys of the kingdom to Nephi, who then rules and reigns in the millennium of peace, which only ends up being less than 400 years. But right before this event in 2024, there's escalations, accelerations, and genocide that occurs. So the Smiths knew all about this. But also what happened is that we witness right before this that the Kingmen got together with a secret Gadianton band of robbers and got together with the Great and Abominable Church. The Trilogy of Terror. And all got activated in those last days within the time period of 2017 to 2024, when they accelerated and just were bloodthirsty, wanting death and carnage so that they can rise from the ashes with an authoritarianism of white supremacy. And the Book of Mormon does seem to indicate that that is a likely possibility, because it's not a magical prophecy. It has to be accomplished by people who say, we're going to make it happen. Now, the enemy knows this, and they're making it happen. They've fulfilled the biblical prophecy. That was their whole intention, is so that they can destroy the religion of the people and go back to the doctrine of Lucifer. And it's so frustrating as I hear people not understanding this, because this group had merged our group today. They've all merged. The Kingmen, the Gadianton Band, and the Great and Abominable Church. And they use the inverted pentagram as the overarching umbrella code sign symbol. And so, yes, Mormons are the Great and Abominable Church. The Kingmen are the GOP with the inverted pentagram on the elephant, and this secret combination, they're the white supremacists. That all combining together. And Chris Hayes earlier this evening again is baffled. He does not understand why the GOP are behind Trump, supporting Trump, when he's the biggest loser in history. Literally. Nobody likes him. He got impeached twice, and he lost the second election, or the runner-up, whatever it's called. He's the incumbent. And so he lost it as an incumbent by the biggest margin ever. And yet the GOP still are going down to Mar-a-Lago. Mike Lee went to Mar-a-Lago so that he can hold a fundraiser down there. You know, yeah. And so I can understand Mike Lee. I did the videos as I made the family connection to John Dealey, the Mormon massacre, Mountain Meadows massacre, sorry, bishop, who slaughtered women and children who were just wanting the American dream to have a place to build a life. And that bishop, under orders of Brigham Young, took it away from him, as he was one of the Danites. And if you don't know what Danite means in Hebrew, judges. They are the judges of the people, the sword of God to slay the righteous. They don't use that coding. Not all groups use the same coding, but everybody wants to be distinct in their own special way. And so, yeah, this is where we're at. And I keep getting frustrated because I'm hoping so that we can get to the point to build Zion. I don't want to believe that it will fail, that the enemy will win and conquer, as the Book of Mormon warns about over and over again. But the church had flipped the Mormons, as Benson himself even slipped at a BYU devotional, which got recorded and has now gone viral on the internet. The Constitution will be saved, as Joseph Smith prophesied, but it will not be saved in Washington. He alters Joseph Smith to say, nope, it won't be saved like Joseph said it would. Thus Brigham Young, or Benson, exposed himself as the enemy of the people. He is a Taft, after all. Anybody remember your Illuminati families? It used to be considered the incorrectly defined conspiracy theories. Nobody talks about the Illuminati anymore. Now it's all about Q. And then in between that was Anonymous. So, yep. The Illuminati is the actual one, though. But yeah, Russia. The church is working with Russia. Trump was working with Russia. The GOP was working with Russia. They're all working together. Just like the Amlicites left the Nephites and joined the Lamanites. And then you have Amlici, who then rises up the command by assassinating each of the leaders on the way up. He becomes the leader of the Lamanites. Yeah, I don't see Trump doing that. I see Putin doing that, but not Trump. So, yeah, we should all be afraid. So, sleep well.